Welcome to the first board meeting of the State Board of Elections in 2023. January 19th, we are coming live, and we have a quorum. We have 4 of our 5 members currently present. Hopefully the 5th member will join momentarily, but we have 4, and so we have a quorum, so we may begin and move ahead with the meeting. I will announce before we start that there is no closed meeting today. So if you've downloaded an agenda and are logging in, there is number 12 on the agenda has been canceled. There's no need for a closed meeting. Are there any additions to the agenda today? Seeing none, we move to the approval of the minutes. They have been distributed. I believe it was just one closed meeting. Unless somebody has a change to that, I think it was just the closed meeting of 10/26/22. Were there any other minutes that I missed? Doesn't look like it. So has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes from October 26, 2022? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have Sky up on my, did we lose her?
Well, I don't think she was here.
I was not
Oh, Sky was.
out of country,
So we do not have quorum.
correct?
You do have a quorum. You legally have a quorum because there's 3 of 5 members here.
Okay, Dan, most of our votes take a supermajority of 4 votes. Are we able to approve minutes with only 3?
No. Any board action that you take has to be done with a supermajority, which requires 4 members of the board.
Right, so we're going to have to table the approval of the minutes until hopefully Mr. Summers joins us, and we can go through all of our normal reporting. We just can't take action without the 4th member. Okay, that's right. Sky was unable to be here for this meeting. Isn't that correct? Yeah. Okay, so let's move to the administrator's report, and if I could just remind everyone to do highlights, not to just read the report. Who is going to start?
So I will start. Good afternoon. Happy New Year. Just wanted to share with you that Mary Wagner, who you are familiar with as the Director of Voter Registration and Petitions, she retired from SVE last fall. And so Melissa's going to introduce the new director, but wanted to recognize Mary's contributions and service to voters and the election community and wish her all the best in her retirement. And I will turn it over to Melissa to introduce Brett.
Thanks, Vicki. Happy New Year, everyone. I am really excited to introduce Brett Paradise. He has joined us as the Director of Voter Registration, picking up where Mary left off. And we put out a recruitment in October, went through a lot of qualified candidates, and Brett very quickly rose to the top. He is originally from Maryland, spent some time out in California in the state government, and then has made his way back here and joined us. So I'm gonna, if you guys don't mind, give him a couple minutes just to say hello. You can put a face with the name, and I will pass off to him.
Thank you, Melissa. Yes, glad to be back after 20 years on the West Coast, but was able to do some nice things over there, both academically and professionally. As Melissa mentioned, come over from California state government, specifically within public health. And obviously the last 3 years has been quite a challenge in every respect in that area. So looking forward to facing some of the same challenges and looking to streamline operations as much as we possibly can. And thank you again for the opportunity to be here.
Great, thank you, Brett. Welcome to the family, the election family, and thank you for your service to the people of Maryland and with the board. Any other board members have any questions for Brett? Seeing none, please.
So I'm happy to continue, although board member Mr. Summers has joined. So do you want to continue through the administrator's report, or do you want to pause and go back to the minutes?
I'd like to, since we're in the administrator's report, if it's okay with the other members of the board, I'd like to let you complete the report, and then we'll just come back to number 3 and approve the minutes and then move forward.
Okay, great. So I don't believe that our other newest team member is on the call, but Paige Eastwood just started last week. She has joined our finance department working under Shelley Holland. She's also a transplant to Maryland. She just moved here from New York City, where she's been working and living. And we are happy to have her, and she's happy to come to Maryland. And it's not a return to home like Brett, but she's learning to make Maryland be her home. So just one other thing to highlight under the administrative section is just that on Tuesday, we briefed the House Ways and Means Committee. This is normal every election. They reach out to us and ask us to go to their committee and brief them on all things elections. So we were there for about an hour and briefed them, gave a brief overview of how elections are administered in Maryland, since there were several newly elected members of the House of Delegates assigned to Ways and Means there, and wanted to give them a little bit of an overview about how elections are administered. And then also we shared data about the 2020 election, much of which we shared with you in the November-December administrator's report. I provided in the administrator's report a link if you wanted to watch the briefing. The link is there. We do owe the committee some follow-up, and we are pulling that together, and we'll provide it to them once we have it. Just the one remaining thing from 2022 general election is anticipating that the chairman would ask questions about web delivery ballots. I provided the similar information that we did in the primary in this report. We didn't have all this information available when we did the administrator's report last time, so they are here for your review and question. And then we are probably 90% done with writing a comprehensive written report on the 2020 general election, hoping to issue that next week, and we'll certainly share a copy of it with you when it's done. But it'll be similar to the reports we've done the last couple of elections, laying out some data and how the election went. And I guess there's a bit more under the general election I missed. So Tracy, if you want to highlight any of the audit work.
Sure, thank you. So for our new board members, we have 3 major post-election audits. One has been completed and the other 2 are in progress. The first of the post-election audits is the automated tabulation audit. That's performed by third-party company named ClearBallot. That audit was completed in mid-December, and it's a 100% audit of all ballot images. That audit was completed in December, and there is a public portal that goes with that audit. And the only new thing since the last administrator's report is that that portal is now live. And I have linked the audit, the portal link in the written part of the report. So if you have any questions about that, you can look at the portal and you can let me know if you have other questions. The manual audit is a manual tabulation audit of specific percentages of ballots according to law that have to be audited. Each county does their own audit. And so far we have had 3, Harford County, Baltimore City, and Garrett County have completed their audits. And so far there have been no discrepancies. The remainder of the counties have selected dates in February. By law, the audits have to be completed within 120 days. And then when they're all completed, we will produce a report about those findings. So those audits are underway. And then the third audit is a comprehensive audit of election processes. That is also underway. We are compiling all of our research from the various departments. And then when that audit is completed, we will be providing those results to the counties, and they have some time to give us feedback. So that's our election audits right now in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
Any questions about any of the audits?
Okay. If there's not, I will pass it on to Marianne, or I'm not sure who's next.
Who
I can do
has,
it. Go ahead, I'm
Great.
sorry.
great, Marianne?
Thank you, and happy non-election year to everyone. I'm going to say that as much as I can to celebrate a little bit. I think we earned it. I really don't have much to add. I just can give a quick summary that we had a very successful lessons learned meeting for all topics of election judges. It was well attended, very productive. A lot of valuable discussions were had and ideas were shared. So we are planning on another meeting the first week of February. So that is in the works. We also are working on a combined provisional SDR application to streamline the process and reduce paper. So we are working with the University of Baltimore, and we have a work group that's comprised of various volunteer members from the local boards to give their best suggestions for revisions. So that's about all I have to add right now. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I have a question. Are board members allowed to attend these meetings or work sessions?
That I'm sort of still new to SBE. Are there any objections for that? Nikki, maybe you can field that.
Yeah, you are welcome to attend. If you have questions that we can answer to save you from those meetings, we're happy to do that. However you'd like to observe that, we're happy to facilitate.
Great.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering if there's any other questions from the board? Great. Who?
I don't know if Brett or Melissa, you had anything particular you wanted to highlight in voter registration?
I don't think anything really of monument. There's some numbers there for you. There will be plenty of more numbers where they come from in the general election report that Nikki referenced earlier. We've really just as a unit been catching up. There's a little bit of a pause on processing during the election and after waiting for it to close. So as far as day to day, we've been catching up on that processing. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the report if you have them. If not, I believe it's Jared. That's
Yep.
from memory. Yeah, okay.
So just, we just had the annual report that was due on the 18th. So we had the report has 65%, that was as of the 17th, but we had over 86% filed timely. And so now we're going to assess daily fines against the ones that have not, and the maximum penalty is $1,000. And the other thing that I just wanted to highlight is that the fundraising during session prohibition for members of the General Assembly, the Attorney General, Comptroller, Governor, and Lieutenant Governor has all started for everyone involved. There was different start dates for the Comptroller, Governor, and Lieutenant Governor due to them being sworn in later than the General Assembly and the Attorney General. So outside of that, I think I'll turn that over now to Heath or.
Yeah, I'll take this one. This is Fred.
Fred.
I don't think Shafiq is on right now, so I'll take the voting systems. So currently we're in post-election maintenance. That's the time, for those of you who are not aware, that's the time where local boards are given some time to assess their equipment and make sure everything works okay. That lasts about 4 months, started back mid-December. Now, we're also looking to get a new voting system for the 2026 elections. So that submission has been made to do it. We submitted the request for a new voting system back in October, and we're just awaiting DoIT to approve that so that we can move forward. For the electronic poll book, this is the new electronic poll book that the project that we're working on. We are continuing, we have been, and we are continuing to receive new test releases from the vendor so that we can test those out. We are conducting what are called sprints. Each sprint is just a period of time where we develop a new feature for the software. There are 10 sprints scheduled, and we have completed 8 of them so far. So things are moving along there. System integration testing is currently scheduled for the end of February 2023. And then mock elections are scheduled to begin mid-May. Are there any questions on any of those items? Okay, now I believe it goes to Keith.
Who is not here. So I will just refer you to the 2 sections in the administrator's report under our project management office, our inventory, audit, and records management, records management. And then at the end, I provided an information security briefing just to do the quarterly update as to what we're doing there. Just want to highlight that the success of the general election was in part due to the relationships that we have developed over the years with all sorts of partners. This particular section of the report talks about our information security partners, both at the federal and the state level and outside of government. And those relationships were really important this election, and we're grateful for them. So I'll just direct your attention to that section.
Great. Any board members have any questions or comments? Does that conclude the administrator's report?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that no one has any questions or comments to the administrator's report. Seeing none, let's jump back to item 3 on our agenda. The approval of the minutes. Michael, we just want to make sure you have a copy of them, and if do you have any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes? Okay, we already had it. We had a motion on the floor and a second. So all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, raise your hand. So that is unanimous. The minutes are approved. So now we will go to number 5 on our agenda, which is the Assistant Attorney General's report.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year's, members of the board. It's been a moment since I've had the opportunity to brief you on ongoing litigation that the state board is in. I'll do highlights as well for the 5 cases that are currently ongoing involving the State Board of Elections. The first is actually from last fall, the emergency petition to open mail-in ballots early in order to canvass them before Election Day. The case had wrapped up essentially on October 7th when the now Supreme Court of Maryland issued an order affirming the Montgomery County Circuit Court. However, on January 6th, a little under 2 weeks ago, Delegate Cox, who you'll remember had intervened in the case, filed a petition for writ of certiorari in the Supreme Court of the United States. What that means is that Delegate Cox has asked the Supreme Court of the United States to review this case. In order to expedite everything, on behalf of the state board, I filed a waiver of the right of response, and the Supreme Court is going to conference the case, meaning it's going to consider whether to even accept it at its February 17th conference. I don't know if we'll get an immediate answer at that conference. Within a week, we might have a response that the court is going to deny or accept cert, or whether the court will ask for a response from SBE. But that's where that case lies now. In terms of the second case on your list there, Baltimore Transit Equity Coalition, that update was just to update members of the board that back in October, right after the last meeting, the now Appellate Court of Maryland dismissed the plaintiff's appeal in that case, and that litigation is now concluded. That'll come off the list for the next meeting. The third item on the list, Gibson versus Frederick County, is the RICO suit in federal district court. On December 16th, the district court granted SBE's motion to dismiss, in addition to all of the member counties or defendant counties' motions to dismiss, effectively closing the case. However, last Friday evening, the plaintiff, there was a 30-day window after that dismissal during which a litigant may appeal the case to, in this case, the Fourth Circuit. Last Friday evening, there wasn't an appeal. However, the plaintiff has filed a motion to amend or alter the judgment, essentially asking the court to reconsider its dismissal, which keeps the litigation active and tolls the appellate time for the case. So we're still in a holding pattern with that case. I'll be filing a response on behalf of SBE early next week to the federal district court. The fourth case on the list, Johnson v. Hogan, that is just a brief update where the case is essentially mooted out. The election is over. OAG is going to file a motion to dismiss the entire case outright in the coming weeks. However, per local federal district court rules, we had to write a letter stating that we were going to file a motion to dismiss. That letter has been written and transmitted, and now we're just waiting for our permission to actually file the motion. And the last case on the list is a contract appeal of 22nd Century Technologies. Last summer, the State Board of Elections solicited requests for proposals for a surge staffing contract, which is essentially surge staffing for early voting and election days to help with various tasks around the state, and before election days for training and other jobs that need to be done. That contract ended. The contract that SBE had been using ended. Its last option period was the 2022 election. So SBE is soliciting a new contract for the 24 election with option periods for 2026 and 2028. There was an evaluation process. One proposal was recommended for award. However, there was a protest by 22nd Century Technologies, which is the incumbent contract holder, the company that had the contract during the 2022 election. SBE issued its final agency decision denying the protest. And in response, 22nd Century has taken an appeal to the Board of Contract Appeals. SBE will be filing its agency report to the Board of Contract Appeals within the next week.
Great. Thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments about any of the numerous updates on the different suits? Seeing none, thank you very much for your report. Accepted and duly noted. And thank you for your service, and Happy New Year.
Well, Dan, are you sworn in or a member of the Supreme Court Bar?
I am a sworn member of the Supreme Court Bar, so I can file things there.
Ready.
Great. So moving on past to 5. Thank you very much, Dan. Moving towards the approval of final regulations for COMAR 33.11.04.04 about absentee ballots. I believe this is one emergency regulations that have been out for comment already. Is that correct?
So yes, it's been, these regulations have been adopted formally as emergency regulations. And at the same time, we've moved it through the regular permanent process. So the emergency regulations are in effect. And then before they expired, we wanted to adopt them permanently. So you should have a memo in your packet from me dated January 5th. These are the regulations that remove the requirement that the local boards hold back 5 mail-in ballots, 5 of each ballot style for the final mailing ballot canvas. But it preserves the need to hold back 5 of each ballot style for the provisional canvas. These were published in the December 2nd edition of the Maryland Register. The public comment period closed. We didn't receive any public comments. And these are now ready for permanent adoption before you know.
Great. Are there any questions about the final regulations as presented, and back with 0 comments, COMAR 33.11.04.04? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept them, these final regulations as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Mike.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nikki. We move to approval of waiver requests.
Jared, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Happy New Year. Thanks. So in front of you has a requests for 28 to be granted with recommendations there. I moved them all together. And then we also included 16 denials. I just want to make one note on the Baltimore City Fraternal Order of Police Fund PAC. That one's a denial, but there are 3 reports for that one, which are from 2012, which are outside the statute of limitations for everything. So those will be waived because the state prosecutor cannot enforce those. They didn't take action against the Fraternal Order of Police at the time. And so those will just be waived because it's outside the statute of limitations and any enforcement capabilities. But all the rest are there for your approval. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer it.
Does anyone have any problems or questions or comments about really, we're only voting for the grant. We have to take no action for the denials.
Correct.
But of course, if there's questions on either from any member of the board, happy to bring them up at this time. Seeing none, the board would accept a motion to grant the waivers on the 28 waiver requests as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your hand. It is unanimous. They are granted. You have more?
Title 14, I have one. It's a duplicate. Ross Contracting Inc. They had registered twice, and so they had filed timely, and then this one here, we're just going to we ask for a waiver of this duplicate account, and then we will then just close it out so that they only have the one active account.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? Seems very reasonable. So is there a motion to accept the waiver for the single waiver for Title 14 waiver for Ross Contracting? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. It is waived. You have any more, Jared, or is that?
No, that's it.
Okay,
Yep.
Great. We move on to see if there is any old business. Seeing no old business, is there any new business for this meeting? Any board member have any new business that they'd like to bring up? Seeing none, this would be the time to make any disclosure of campaign contributions. Any board member have campaign contributions to disclose?
I have one, Mr. Chair. The Senate President Bill Ferguson for $46. And then I don't think it was a donation. Like I went to the inaugural gala, I guess, but in abundance of caution, I purchased tickets to that for $125 each for 2, my wife and I.
Great. Sav, you had a
Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure it really qualifies, but I made a whopping $25 donation to the Republicans of Kent.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, great. We move on to scheduling of the next meeting. That would normally be in February. Now we are having this meeting later in January, so that would normally be. Well, when would the staff like to see that 19th? It would normally be the 16th of
I think the board has traditionally met on the fourth Thursday of the month. If you want to return to that schedule.
The 23rd, that would be the 23rd of February. Is that problematic for any board member? That'd be Thursday, February 23rd at 2 p.m. Since it doesn't look like anyone has a problem with that, and that would give us a quorum for sure. And of course, we would reach out to Sky with that date. And that is and thank you, Nikki, for reminding me of that it's the 4th, not the 3rd Thursday. So then the next meeting would be set for 2 p.m., February 23rd. That is a Thursday. Great. Any other matters? This may be the fastest board meeting ever. I'm sure the next one will have that great report from the 2022 election. I wanted to just take a moment, Chair Prerogative, and thank, we didn't really have a real meeting since the election. And I just, I watched carefully what was happening. I know I speak for the rest of the board for how much real work that was put in, countless hours by both the state board and all of the local boards. And I'm just continually impressed and blown away by how hard the election professionals work to make sure that there are fair, honest, and safe elections. And the board is just incredibly thankful and in your debt. And thank you for that. I don't know if anybody else I would like to comment around that.
Mr. Chair, to share your praise for everyone working so hard behind the scenes. I was personally nervous there'd be a lot of issues just with the number of mail-in ballots and kind of the delays and things we'd seen around the country. So yeah, again, just echo my praise and appreciation for everyone and the work they're doing to keep our elections safe and functional.
Great. Thank you. Well, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment signify by raising your hand. Thank you. And we will see you all in February. Thank you very much for